tonight's top story, which is a major political controversy that's brewing. The Tirumala Tirupati Venkateshwara temple, one of the most revered temple sites, is now caught in an unsavory row with political implications and implications of faith as well. After the temple board claimed, or the government of Andhra Pradesh claimed, after a laboratory report suggested that adulterated ghee is being used or was used in the preparation of the famous laddus offered as prasadam. The claim was first made by the Andhra Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu, who targeted his predecessor Jagan Reddy, claiming that this adulteration had taken place when Jagan Mohan was Chief Minister. In fact, Chandrababu's deputy and actor politician Pawan Kalyan has now called for a Sanatan Dharma Hindu board to manage temples across the country. A raging political battle with religious connotations is our top story tonight.
Huge row over alleged adulterated ghee used in Tirupati Prasadam. National Dairy Development Board's lab test on some samples of cow ghee procured by the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam contained traces of fish oil, beef tallow, lard or pig fat.
It is adulterated with animal fats. So it is lard, which is a pig fat, then palm oil and beef tallow, then fish oil included, rapeseed, linseed and all these things. It's like a concoction of all these.
The temple board statement comes days after Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu at an event meeting claimed that animal fat was used in Tirupati laddus during the previous regime of Jagan Mohan.
కావాల్సినటువంటి ముడి సరుకులన్నీ కూడా నాసి రకం వాడడం, అది కాకుండా పవిత్రమైన దేవాలయాల్లో కూడా అపవిత్రమైన ముడి సరుకులు వాడడం, ఇలాంటివన్నీ చేసి కంపు చేశారు.
Later, TDP spokesperson Annam Venkata Rama Reddy held a press conference displaying the lab report which confirmed the presence of beef tallow, fish oil and pig fat in the ghee sample. The centre has sought a report from the Andhra Pradesh government.
जो रिपोर्ट है जिस सोर्स से आई है, उस रिपोर्ट को पूरी तहकीकात करके उसके सारे पहलुओं को ध्यान में रख करके सूटेबल एक्शन विल बी टेकन अकॉर्डिंगली. जो भी कानून के दायरे में और जो भी हमारी नियमावली फूड सेफ्टी स्टैंडर्ड्स अथॉरिटी ऑफ इंडिया के तहत आती है, उसके तहत हम इस पर कार्रवाई करेंगे.
Deputy Chief Minister Pawan Kalyan called for a Sanatan Dharma board to look into all temple issues and urged a debate on temple management in the country. Jagan's party YSRCP has moved the High Court, accusing Chief Minister Naidu of making heinous allegations for political gains.
Animal fat geek badulu వాడినారని ఇదే పెద్ద మనిషి చంద్రబాబు నాయుడు ముఖ్యమంత్రి హోదాలో ఉంటూ ఒక ముఖ్యమంత్రిగా తాను మాట్లాడిన మాటలివి.
The BJP and Congress has trained guns on Jagan Mohan Reddy, seeking a CBI probe.
उसकी CBI से जांच होनी चाहिए. CBI के जांच के दायरे में आना चाहिए कि कितने रुपए का घी लिया गया, कौन चर्बी का घी क्यों लिया गया, और दूसरा प्रश्न, ये हिंदू धर्म के साथ घोर अत्याचार है.
We are demanding a CBI inquiry into this issue because it is not a small issue. It does not pertain to a small group of people, but to crores of people. We have also written to the Home Minister of India, Mr. Amit Shah, demanding for a CBI inquiry into this matter.
Allegations of adulterated ghee being used to make Tirupati laddus has become a political flashpoint. The state government now faces the challenge of restoring trust among devotees and preventing the situation from escalating to bigger crisis. With Apurva Jayachandran in Tirupati, in Andhra, Bureau Report, India Today.
Okay, let's raise the big question there. Is the adulteration widespread as is being suggested, or is this a one-off? Is politics being played over a sensitive issue of faith? Is this ultimately about the fight for control of some of India's richest temples? These are some of the questions I'm going to raise today. On the show tonight, TS Sudhir, political analyst who's tracked Andhra and Telangana politics for years. Professor Jyotsna is with the Telugu Desam Party and she is their spokesperson. And Konda Rajiv Gandhi is with the YSRCP. Thank you all very much for joining us. I want to come to you first, Konda Rajiv Gandhi, because what is being alleged is extremely serious. The allegation that the TDP says is they collected a ghee sample provided by the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam, which manages the temple, and they saw in the lab report presence of foreign fats, including pig fat, beef fat, and fish oil in the ghee supplied. Your response, how does the YSRCP explain this lab report?
Sir, firstly, a warm good evening to you and the panelists and the viewers of India Today. Well, Rajiv, sir, before representing as a party official spokesman, I have a responsibility as a citizen, as a Hindu, to speak on this particular issue. There are many queries in each and every one regarding this issue, particularly. What did they test it? Because at least through your voice, we came to a clarification that, yes, they are saying that they tested a ghee, not a laddu, number one point. And that ghee was from a contractor where he was changed. And before that, Nandini dairy ghee used to be utilized in Tirumala. But the thing is, when the ghee
was used to prepare the laddu. Let me clarify. This ghee which was tested was used in the preparation of the laddu.
No, sir. No, actually, it is not the fact. The fact is, either it may be ghee or any other product which will be used for the preparation of either prasadam or naivedyam or annadanam. Before going into the kitchen of the devasthanam, there will be a testing process for 3 steps. If any such product, or if only it passes the 3 tests which will be conducted by TTD, then only they will allow that particular product into the preparation of this so-called prasadam, naivedyam and annadanam. But if such any product fails, they definitely rejects and they'll take the report on that. In such manner, previously in the past tenure of 1924 or before that also, there are many such situations where the products were failed in the test and they were rejected. And this is
So explain to me the lab report. Explain to me the lab report that has been done by the National Dairy Development Board. The Center for Analysis for Learning in Livestock and Food at NDDB has done the report which suggests this adulteration. Explain that. That is the hub of the issue.
Yes, explaining means this is $1 million question, and the God Lord Venkateshwara should explain us. Why? Because we are having 3 questions regarding this report. When did they tested the sample? And what did they tested? And when the result came? And when the result was exposed to the public or the media? And why is the gap between the result coming and the result exposing? And what the gap in between time has held for? Is it held for any conspiracy or any alterations in the report? This adulteration and alterations were in the ghee or in the report? This is $1 million question.
Are you saying the report was altered? You're making a very serious charge. Are you claiming this report was altered?
There is a doubt about the alteration even in the report. My allegation may be serious, but it is very low when compared to the allegations of Chandrababu Naidu. How would he can allegate simply?
Okay, I'll come. One minute, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi. Let's come question by question. The first issue that you have raised, and I want Professor Jyotsna to report to this. Professor Jyotsna Tinuragi, the question that is being raised is that this was a report. The lab report is dated July 16th. Sample receipt date was July 9th. We are now in September. That is August and September, we didn't hear anything. Suddenly the Telugu Desam, as its 100 days coming, 100 days you celebrated of your government, you now release the report. Why didn't you release the report earlier? What was the government doing for the last 8 weeks?
Sir, Rajiv sir, good evening to my co-panelists, you and the audience. Rajiv sir, here the point is couple of questions that have been raised by Rajiv ji now and also raised by you. You are saying, yes, the lab report was of July and now you're exposing it in September. Sir, basically, why did this testing happen? Because earlier Konda Rajiv gave a statement saying that it was not used at all. That's the explanation by them. So, but what was happening was for the past 2.5 to 3 years, continuously there were complaints on laddu prasadam that was served in Tirumala shrine constantly, So when our party came into power, the first dialogue, the first statement of the Honorable Chief Minister Nara Chandrababu Naidu garu was, there have been a lot of misdeeds that have been committed by the ex-Chief Minister Jagan Mohan Reddy. So the cleansing, the process of cleansing will start from Tirumala. So immediately, later in that month, what happened was, a vigilance inquiry was conducted in different parts of Tirumala, sir. Not just the laddu, or not just the ingredients, or not just the other things. All the different parts of Tirumala, vigilance inquiries happened. During the course of vigilance inquiries, the Honorable EO, he just gave a press statement also. Because they didn't understand the concept of how come a supplier is giving pure cow ghee at such a low rate. What is wrong with this? Because, the pilgrims also complaining that the prasadam quality is not good. Then
no, but why, found out... You're not answering my question. Why did you take 8 weeks to release the report?
No, sir. Sir, I'm coming. I'm just explaining how it has happened. Now, after this, immediately, once they have these reports in hand, sir, immediately that particular stock and that particular supplier was blacklisted and the stock was seized, sir. Immediately it was done. Then what they have done is, because it's a third party NDDB that has done it, then they also had followed the relevant procedures they have in TTD, sir. See, it is not the government which has done it, it is the TTD which has done it, sir. Vigilance inquiries of TTD. So subsequently, several other inquiries also happened. And when the thing was that it has to be informed and the government got to know about it, that's when, and also it involves a lot of sentiment issue, Rajdeep, sir. You also know it. It's about the crores of devotees across the world. It's just not about Andhra Pradesh or even India. Across the world, we are talking about crores of devotees. So Chandrababu Naidu garu said that there is an thing that this might have happened because we have a solid evidence for that. Later on,
yes, go ahead.
Later on, we exposed the evidence also, and now when we come to the evidence, sir, my question is, my concern, I can't even call it a question, sir. My concern is, today the ex-chief minister conducted a press meet, sir. In the press meet, he didn't even quote about this report. Absolutely, he didn't even quote about this report. The report which claims about why the S values were deviating and what does the deviation in the S values mean. He didn't even quote about it. And he also said that still is continuing, which is wrong, sir. The day it was identified, immediately the stock was seized and that particular...
Okay, so let's try and... Okay, I've heard both your initial remarks.
Yes.
What is very clear, TS Sudhir, is that this laboratory report, which is based on tests conducted in July, now released in September, has clearly, in a way, cast a huge amount of doubt over what was happening in at Tirupati and cast huge questions over the supervision by the Tirumala board itself. And the board, for our viewers, we must make it very clear, consists of representatives across parties, across states, and there are 24 members. Therefore, Sudhir, is the real question to be asked over the Devastham board and the manner in which they were supervising possible failure to ensure that pure ghee was used in these laddus. Should the blame lie at their door? How do you explain the lab report?
See, basically, Rajdeep, of course, this is not just a laddu. There's a lot of sanctity associated with the Tirumala Tirupati laddu. And obviously, that's why it has upset a whole lot of people ever since this news broke from Chandrababu Naidu himself. Yes, the buck obviously has to stop at the previous TTD board, whether there was some kind of negligence or whether there was some kind of a malafide intention. They will need to explain that once the lab report has come out and whether any kind of further inquiry is ordered. Now, the whole problem also lies in the entire tendering process itself, because I am told that close to 30 liters of milk is required to prepare 1 kg of ghee. Now, 30 liters of milk into about 60 rupees per liter comes to about 1800, but you are getting supply of ghee between 320 and 411 rupees. And one of the firms which was blacklisted after their tanker was found to contain samples which were not really in the perfect condition, adulterated, that was supplying at 320. So obviously, as Professor Josna said, how were they actually providing it at 320 when the cost of production is going to be much, much more? That's where the question comes, whether low quality product was being supplied to Tirumala because the cost was much less. So there is a problem with the tendering process itself. Now, you asked Professor Uchna about why this time delay. Now, what I am told by my sources in the TDP is that the Chief Minister was mulling over whether the kind of impact this kind of a news would have should he break it, and which is why this entire delay about releasing it to the public and how and when he should actually do it. But
do you see any significance in the timing? Do you see any significance in the fact that it's been released around the 100-day mark of the TDP government?
Well, I mean, he was talking, which is why he kind of, explained that, this is what has happened in Tirumala, and definitely the TDP government had said that cleanup of Tirumala will be one of its top priorities, which also explains the appointment of someone like Shamal Rao as the executive officer at Tirumala Tirupati board. The board has still not been constituted, and that's a big thing because, as you said, there are representatives cutting across political lines from different states, and there's a lot of push and pull and clamor to get a post on that position on that TTD board. It is something which most people want to get. So in that sense, TTD, Tirumala, there's a lot of sensitivity and sanctity associated with it. And the sooner we get to the bottom of this, whether that ghee was indeed used to prepare any laddus, what we are told is that it was stopped at the tanker stage. But the fact that laddus have been, how long, whether there was some kind of a testing at regular intervals to check the purity of the laddu, the weight of the laddu, which has to be perfectly 175 grams, whether all that was done over the last 5 years, only a full-fledged inquiry would reveal that.
So essentially the TTD board itself is under the scanner. The tendering process that Sudhir spoke about is under the scanner because Konda Rajiv Gandhi, the fact is a blacklisted contractor is from whom you procure the cow ghee at rupees 320. Now the same trust is procuring it at rupees 475 per kg from the Karnataka Milk Federation, which reportedly has a much better track record. You all did not use them. You chose to use a blacklisted contractor. All of this is raising the suspicion that the entire TTD board during the YSRCP years did not have the procedures in place to ensure proper monitoring. As Sudhir says, as everyone is now saying, this involved the sensitivities of people. If this lab report is true, there are people who are going to say that you have desecrated our faith, defiled our faith. Tirupati has lakhs of devotees.
Rajdeep sir, my point towards your question is, definitely what you said, some Nandini dairy farm or something, or it's Karnataka Milk Federation, which was in a very better quality. So if such better quality if it is, why did Chandrababu Naidu, who's the then chief minister, why didn't he procure ghee from such KMF from the years of 2015 to 18? Probably 2015 to 2018 October. See, this is an open tendering process where the tendering process will took over for every 6 months. And moreover, every single tanker, I'm again quoting my line, every single tanker sample will be taken and tested only after the passing the particular test, after the completion of inspection only, it will be allowed. If not, it will be rejected. So first, before...
So how do you explain this lab report? Mr. Rajiv, how do you explain this particular lab report if you are saying that all the products were being carefully tested? Either the testing system is flawed or the lab report has been fudged. And it's unlikely that a lab report of an organization linked to NDDB would be fudged in this manner.
Rajdeep sir, please take a note on my point once. This is my sincere request. There, our government handed over charge on June 4th. Chandrababu Naidu is a man of conspiracy in politics. He is the king of diversion politics. His government was failed in the last 100 days. They failed in controlling floods, failed in saving flood victims, failed in Vizag saving Vizag steel plant. So he just wanted to divert this and he brought this matter into the public now. Clearly, we are having a clear doubt not only on the report, but we are having a clear doubt whether the ingredients which were tested may be altered before testing by this Chandrababu Naidu conspiracy government only to degrade the Jagan Mohan Reddy's fame, and they want to create an impact in the public that Jagan Mohan Reddy is an anti-Hindu. They are playing such crooked and crucial politics in the name of the God, which is very unfortunate. So that we are, to prove our fairness, we are demanding, come on, you keep an inquiry with the sitting judge. We are ready to face it. Otherwise,
Okay.
we demand a CBI inquiry. We're ready to face that. Moreover, coming to the inquiries or politics is a different matter. But here, Hinduism, the spirituality, the religion, we all have a belief on Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam Srivaru, because I'm also a big devotee for that particular god. He's like, in Telugu, we call as Inti Ilavelpu. So our previous chairman, Subba Reddy Garu, openly challenged that he, along with his family, will come to Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam and they will promise in front of the god, in the name of the god, that no kind of such alterations done in laddu
So
preparation.
you are ready for an inquiry, a judicial inquiry to be carried out under a High Court judge. Professor Jyotsna, you're hearing the YSRCP. I also saw Jagan Mohan. Just a minute, sir. I saw Jagan Mohan Reddy's. Yes, go ahead.
One last point. I request you, I urge you. One last point.
Yes.
We, Subba Reddy Garu openly challenged Chandrababu Naidu also to come along with his family to Tirumala and to take a oath that such kind of alterations were not done in his time. So if Chandrababu is ready, let us first ask him to take the open challenge. Ask him to come to Tirumala to take the oath. Subba Reddy will come. If not, we are ready for CBI inquiry or judicial inquiry. Anything is there.
Okay.
We leave
You are
to
ready
their
for a
priority.
CBI. Okay, sir. You've made your point. You're ready for a CBI or judicial inquiry. Professor Jyotsna, one of the serious charges, and I heard even Jagan Mohan's press conference, is that the report has been altered. But B, what is being suggested today by Konda Rajiv Gandhi, that all of this is being used to portray Jagan Mohan Reddy in some form as anti-Hindu. That's a very serious charge being made, that the entire effort is somewhere to bracket the previous government as anti-Hindu.
Rajiv sir, we don't have to, separately portray him or newly portray him as anti-Hindu. Sir, he is an anti-Hindu. His anti-Hindu agenda
please take your
was very
words back.
evident.
Please take your back. Jyotsna, such an intellectual
Rajiv,
person
when
like you
when
shouldn't
spoke,
say that.
I didn't talk.
Okay,
Rajiv,
well,
when you
let her
talk.
finish. Konda, let her
When
finish.
you
Let her
spoke,
finish.
I didn't talk.
Okay, go ahead.
Kindly. Sir, why am I telling you this is, Rajdeep, sir? For the past 5 years, when Jagan Mohan Reddy ji was in regime, during his regime, several attacks on Hindu temples happened. No action taken. And in fact, Ramatirtham, the most revered Sri Ram statue, was in fact, the head was desecrated. No action taken. Antarvedi, a chariot of the god, was burned. No action taken. Thousands of priests attacked in the state. No action taken. Some acres, hundreds of acres of temple lands completely, taken away by YSRCP people. No action taken. Sir, conversions we have seen. No action taken. Sir, above all, he's talking about YV Subba Reddy ji. Sir, YV Subba Reddy Garu was the TTD board chairperson, and after him, Bhumana Karunakar Reddy was the TTD board chairperson. And sir, let me put it, and it's a very valid point, Rajdeep sir. Jagan Mohan Reddy Garu is a Christian. He never gave a declaration whenever he came to Tirumala, sir. Why didn't the chairpersons then ask him for the declaration? And this is not first time that they have, done some mischief with Tirumala, sir. It is not first time, and it is not an isolated incident in Tirumala. Several times we have.
I'm going to stop you for a moment because, as I said, a lot of sensitivity is involved. You're claiming that the previous government did not appreciate the sensitivities of Hindus. You portrayed, in your view, Jagan Mohan Reddy as anti-Hindu. TS Sudhir, this is the worry. There are two narratives being played. One suggesting that this is the right moment for governments to stop taking over temple trusts, many of them very rich. I've put out some of the figures of the Tirumala temple, that the government should have nothing to do with it. And this parallel narrative of portraying the previous government as anti-Hindu. Is your fear that therefore religious sentiments mixed with politics are creating now a deadly cocktail mix? And is there a possibility of just pulling some of these trust boards out of government control, that government cannot appoint the members in any way?
Well, who will bell the cat? I don't think any government, including the Andhra Pradesh government, or of any political party, be it the YSRCP or the Telugu Desam, is going to give up control of the TTD, given the kind of riches it has at its disposal. So that's not likely to happen. Talking about, whether this was some kind of a diversionary tactic, as Rajiv Gandhi was pointing out, on part of Chandrababu Naidu. Now, I know it for a fact that Chandrababu Naidu, who in fact hails from Chittoor district, where the Tirumala Tirupati shrine is there, is a devout Hindu, and I wouldn't know whether he would really use the Tirumala temple to create some kind of a false narrative. Some kind of a mistake may have happened. I use the word may have happened. whether that particular firm was blacklisted, was told not to kind of supply any more ghee to the temple.
Mistake or malified?
That is what has to be established, Rajdeep. And
what's
moreover,
your sense? What's your sense?
The,
given the huge sensitivities involved, would even a Jagan Mohan Reddy have allowed willfully something like this to happen?
See, the buck obviously stops at the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam board. It is their job to ensure, the vigilance committee, the entire members and the administrative staff, to ensure that good quality ghee and other raw material, be it sugar, be it cashew, be it cardamom, everything was supplied for the manufacture, for the making of these laddus. Please remember, for the Naivedyam, which is the offering made to the Lord, it is the ghee from the Gaushalas which is supplied. So that is separate. This ghee is not used for preparing the Naivedyam which is offered to the Lord every day. But having said that, I think what is needed now is probably a cross-checking by 2-3 more established labs in the country to see whether what the NDDB lab, of course a very credible one, but to ensure that the veracity of it, the veracity of the findings, because they are extremely shocking and they have shocked so many devout Hindus across the globe. So it's necessary that a commission of inquiry get it checked by at least a couple of more established labs to ensure that whether the findings were correct, and if the findings were correct, whether it was only confined to a particular firm which was supplying the ghee at that point in time.
But the question comes whether the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam, whether you believe that the system will therefore have to be changed of appointments, of the way people, of the way the board conducts itself, given the riches involved, given the sensitivities involved. Would this also be a moment, therefore, to look at the functioning not just of this board, but possibly other temple boards across the country?
More than the functioning, the kind of people who are appointed to the board, because right now it is people who have some kind of political backing who get appointed to the board. So who are the 23-24 people who are chosen, including the chairperson who are chosen by Chandrababu Naidu, will have to be people of high caliber and ensure that they would not do anything. They would in fact do everything to ensure nothing hanky-panky happens at the Tirumala Tirupati temple, because it's not just the richest temple. It's a temple which has a lot of faith from people across the globe. It's not just people from South India or only from the 2 Telugu-speaking states. So that has to be ensured. And this particular moment where some kind of adulterated or animal fat is reported to have been found could well be a wake-up call for the TTD and the Andhra Pradesh government.
A wake-up call for the TTD and the Andhra Pradesh government, and also, of course, part of a political battle. But on this show, at least, YSRCP's representative has said they are open to a judicial inquiry or a CBI inquiry. And the Telugu Desam representative is insisting that there is much that the previous YSRCP government has to answer for. This is what happens when issues of faith play out like this in the political domain. Expect public sensitivities to remain high, which is why it needs to be handled with caution and care. I appreciate all my guests joining me here on my big talking point. Thank you all very much for joining me on the show. Let's turn now from there to today's shocker of the day. An army officer and his fiancée were allegedly assaulted at a police station in Odisha when they had gone to register a road rage complaint. The woman was allegedly sexually assaulted by the police officer at the local station. The victim has now spoken out in detail about the ordeal she went through. It's our other big story today.
मेरे जैकेट से मुझे मेरे पीछे हाथ बांधे और एक लेडी कांस्टेबल के स्कार्फ से मेरे पैर बांध के मुझे रूम में डाल दिया। फिर थोड़ी देर में एक मेल ऑफिसर आके मेरा ब्रा उतार के मेरे ब्रेस्ट पे किक मारना शुरू किया कंटिन्यूअसली।
Kicked, humiliated, molested. Horrific allegations of sexual abuse and assault in police custody in Odisha has sent shockwaves across the nation. An Indian Army officer and his fiancée were subjected to abuse at a police station in Bharatpur, where they had gone seeking help against a gang of hooligans chasing them. The police refused to register an FIR and instead allegedly assaulted the couple. The officer was illegally detained for 10 hours while his fiancée was allegedly stripped, molested and detained for 3 days.
बहुत सारे लड़के थे वो लोग को अपॉर्चुनिटी दिया था कंप्लेंट लिखने का, बट उतने में ही उन्होंने पता नहीं क्यों उसको कस्टडी में डाला। फिर मैंने उनसे वापस रिक्वेस्ट किया और बोला कि आप एक आर्मी ऑफिसर को नहीं डाल सकते हैं कस्टडी में। उसके बाद उन्होंने मेरे ही जैकेट से मुझे मेरे पीछे हाथ बांधे और एक लेडी कांस्टेबल के स्कार्फ से मेरे पैर बांध के मुझे रूम में डाल दिया। फिर थोड़ी देर में एक मेल ऑफिसर आके मेरा ब्रा उतार के मेरे ब्रेस्ट पे किक मारना शुरू किया कंटिन्यूअसली।
Shattered family members of the victim are demanding justice.
5 पुलिस वालों को सस्पेंड किया है, लेकिन उन्होंने जो हेइनस क्राइम किया है, हेइनस क्राइम बिल्कुल ये तो क्रिमिनल से भी ऊपर है, क्योंकि जो रक्षक है वो भक्षक बन गया। तो इसलिए उनका अगेंस्ट में सिर्फ सस्पेंशन नहीं है, अभी उनका सर्विसेज को टर्मिनेशन करना जरूरी है और उन्होंने जो क्राइम किया है दे हैव टू फेस द लॉ और उनको जेल जाना जरूरी है। ये हमारा सरकार से मांग रहेगा।
The incident has shaken the armed forces who are up in arms.
This is utter absolute lawlessness on like how the police has behaved, and we are quite shaken up. The military serving community, the veteran community has sort of come behind the officer, which is why this case has, sort of come into the limelight. I mean, just think about poor people. Would they even go to the police knowing that this is the kind of behavior that they will be subjected to?
Following intervention by the Indian Army, the case has been transferred to the CBCID for a thorough investigation. 5 police officers have been suspended. Naveen Patnaik, former CM of Odisha, criticized the BJP government in the state and demanded a court-monitored SIT probe.
We demand a full judicial inquiry into this matter, and action must be taken very quickly.
With pressure mounting from all sides, the National Commission for Women has taken note of the incident and sought a detailed report in the case. Bureau Report, India Today.
To my other special focus tonight, a 26-year-old chartered accountant who worked at Ernst & Young in India died in July, just 4 months after she joined the company. Anna Sebastian's mother, Anita Augustine, has now written a letter to Ernst & Young India chairman Rajiv Memani, detailing how she claims workload and stress at the workplace took a toll on her young daughter's physical, mental and emotional health. The letter has gone viral and sparked a huge controversy over work culture in the country. Mr. Memani has now responded in a social media post. He claims the company remains committed to the well-being of its employees. The larger questions, of course, remain and are a subject of our other special focus. Let's raise the big questions. Are our workplaces now getting more and more stressful? Is overwork being equated by some companies to hard work? How important is it to have a work-life balance, and how does one take that forward? Those are some of the questions I'm going to raise on a very sensitive issue again. Joining me now, Probir Jha, founder and CEO at Probir Jha People's Advisory. He's an HR expert who's been working with some of India's top companies like Cipla and Reliance over the years. Also joining me at this moment is Professor Matthew Thomas. He's a corporate trainer and leadership course. Appreciate both of you joining us. Probir, to you first. The ENY case, tragic as it is, has brought the focus once again, particularly in this instance, on the young and the work pressures they face in high stressful jobs. What's your sense? Is this only the tip of the iceberg? Is there a wider problem out there among the young as they enter the workplace in these stressful jobs?
Yes, Rajdeep, I think that it's the tip of the iceberg. I think it's only getting worse. This obsession, particularly in India, with long hours equated to great work, is a very misplaced social myth. And I think that is what gets carried to corporates. There is no denying that many areas, many businesses, many industries have possibly more difficult and longer hours. But this is actually being callous, being indifferent. And I think there's a case for us to look at not only hours, but also very deeply internally questions around culture, leadership, quality of talent, fundamental questions around rewards practice. Is the bottom line the only thing which matters? What is the right trade-off? So it triggers actually to my mind a lot of deeper questions than just one unfortunate and tragic incident that we saw.
But Prabir, where does the buck stop? Is it with leadership teams? Is it with the overall work culture? Is there a tendency to imitate, to ape Western practices, which may not necessarily fit in with Indian culture, or is it just simply professional competition today?
So it's not about aping the West. I think the West is a little more sensitive on this particular matter compared to Indian companies. I think it's a lot of celebration of long hours as the way forward for India Inc. and for India's success. But to me, if I had to pick one specific thing, Rajdeep, and I've written about it, I think it's very poor role modeling of leadership. When generations of leaders see more tyrannical, more slavish long hours as the only way of leadership, when people get promoted for just generating the moolah, and therefore being slave drivers, they replicate the same behavior. And that is what gets pushed down the line. And, with this 24/7 work expectation, which unfortunately has been triggered in the last some years, the problem has actually become very, very severe. And I think there's a need to acknowledge, and there's a need to seriously reflect as to what is the right balance. I think also, if I may share, that the people joining the workforce also need to come with their eyes and ears open. At the end of the day, a big money packet or a good title or a good company by itself is not the best career choice or a workplace for that particular person, because each one's mojo and each one's personal abilities could be very different.
Right. You mentioned leadership, and therefore I want to come to you, Matthew Thomas, as someone who sort of works with corporate leaders. We've heard Narayan Murthy create a stir by suggesting that Indians need to work harder, longer hours, and that created a lot of, there was a backlash to that, especially among many of the young who felt, look, that was old India. New India wants to have a work-life balance. Is the problem with leadership in companies which is unable to accept what does this work-life balance really mean?
Yeah, Rajdeep, I personally feel the basic core problem is leadership and the coming generation, Gen Zs. They have already entered the corporate workplace, and the leadership teams are normally from the Generation X. Now, Generation X will always have a generation gap with the Generation Z, and their expectations have been very different. Now, we need to understand that this word work-life balance has changed and evolved over a period of time. During our times, it was like 8 hours of working and 8 hours of family time and 8 hours of sleep. Currently, the Generation Z is talking about a qualitative experience. So it's not about spending more time, maybe that 72 hours, that fixed mindset is not what Gen Z is looking at. Gen Z is talking about making meaningful contributions at the workplace. So that's more about a qualitative aspect rather than the quantitative aspect.
No, so why are the leadership of the company? So is there a generation gap? Is there a generation gap, Matthew, that the leadership, which you say is from another generation, is unable to accept the idea that we'll work fewer hours but will contribute more?
Absolutely, Rajdeep. I think the current problem in the corporations is that the leaders are typically from the Generation X, and the frontliners are from Generation Z, and these Gen Zs and Gen X needs to change. They need to adapt. They need to understand that the times have changed, and we need to adjust to the demands of this new generation. And that is why there is so much of gap. And there is no doubt why people are calling this as toxic leadership. The reason is because we need to change, we need to adapt, we need to accept these new generation thought processes.
Toxic leadership is the word used, Prabir. Is there not enough training at leadership levels to understand perhaps or to reduce this generation gap that Matthew just spoke about between leaders from one generation and employees from another?
See, there's a lot of fig leaf action, Rajdeep, which gets done. So if you were to talk to a company, they'll rattle off number of hours and people who've gone through training programs. I don't think this issue is one of training. See, it's about conscious display of sensitivity, and which is back to that point that finally people observe how leaders behave. You can do any training program, you can do all these so-called wellness programs and offer it. Actually, does it work? The issue, Rajdeep, is we are trying to address the problem downstream. The issue is upstream. Why are you waiting for a fire to be created? The valor is not in dousing fires. Prudence is about preventing fires. Look at the way people get promoted. Look at the way you look at your staffing norms. If you have to hire 5 more people, hire. How much of bottom line obsession necessarily has to happen? And you know, this entire thing of passing or kicking the can down the road is something which flows from the top down. And I think, therefore, it's an issue of deep cultural ignorance, denial. And, you know, my favorite expression, which I keep sharing, that, you know, companies are trying to solve a pediatric problem with a geriatric solution. It's a very fundamental problem, and success stories, you know, can wipe out a lot of, dirt that otherwise exists in very successful companies.
You know, but this work stress that you just spoke about, some people are able to adjust to it, others are unable to adjust to it. There's a high degree of attrition today across the board, in even among younger employees. Is there a need for greater psychological guidance, training, or you're saying that's not the issue at the moment?
No, it helps. I'm not saying it is not needed. It helps. But all that I'm saying is it can help you with some coping mechanism. But actually a deeper analysis of this, and at least my firm belief is that if companies were to start thinking about how they are organized, how they work, how they lead, how they assign work, how are managers sensing sense of fatigue? You know, and it's not just hours of work. It is also the lack of appreciation, the lack of sensitivity, the lack of language. So it is not physical endurance which is at stake here. It is a lot of emotional endurance. And I think companies are falling very short of emotionally understanding. The left brain bias of leadership in most companies continues to prevail. The one who gets his Excel sheet right, spreadsheet numbers right, is the guy who gets elevated and promoted. So you're promoting the wrong breed of leaders. And unless you step back and say, no, we need more wholesome leadership, better role models, better display of sensitivity, I don't think any of these band-aid measures will be adequate. And it's not about the odd, fatality in the CEO's, playback that I read. You know, the fact is that a life has been lost, and it doesn't matter whether it's 1 out of 100,000. The fact is that life has been lost, and there is a deeper issue, and it will depend on the integrity of companies and systems to get better.
So what's the solution? First, you, Matthew, if there was one solution, there are no magic bullets, obviously, but if there was something that you would look at, what would you suggest today to corporate leaders? What should they be doing to ensure that their employees feel more, perhaps, more people who companies
one of the most important thing
desire
is,
to
we
hold
have
on
a typical
to?
mindset.
Go ahead.
I think first and foremost, we need to redefine leadership. It's not just about a vice president or a general manager and above. Leadership concepts will have to drill down, because it is rightly said that people don't leave organizations, they leave their managers. So the leadership concept should drill down to the managerial level. And normally, traditionally, we have a tendency to drive productivity and profitability. I think modern managers and modern leaders should be aware of the fact that the undercurrent or the foundation of any of this profitability or productivity should be well-being. We should ensure that the employees who work with us, they have the right physical well-being, the right emotional well-being, and the right mental well-being. Only on the basis of these 3 parameters should we drive profitability and productivity, which currently is missing in the Indian context. So I think one of the core measures should be to see to it that we are taking care of the well-being of our employees, typically the mental well-being.
Very quickly, Probit, do you have a solution out there, something where companies should be starting with?
Build, promote and practice wholesome leadership, Rajdeep, is how I would put it. Angularity on just profitability and bottom line and functional expertise does not build leadership or the culture that will be able to inspire and engage and be sensitive to the growing number of younger workforce which is coming in.
Very, very sane advice from both of you. I hope that there are corporate leaders out there listening, as well as members of Gen Z who seem to be caught or almost trapped in these excessively stressful lives as they see it. Thank you both very much for joining me here and shedding light on your views on the show tonight. Let's turn to tonight's Get Real India story, and it comes from Chhattisgarh, when an alleged textbook scam has been unearthed. Thousands of textbooks meant to be distributed free to government school students have been found at a recycling plant. The state government has ordered an investigation. Sumi Keval Patel has this report.
Government school students from class 1st to 10th were to get free textbooks in Chhattisgarh. But instead, piles of books meant for the children were found at a recycling centre 30 kilometers from Raipur.
Padhega India, tabhi to badhega India. This is what the government has been claiming, but this seems like a joke in the state of Chhattisgarh. While there are thousands of children who get deprived of education at various parts in the country, this is how Chhattisgarh treats education, and also goddess Saraswati. Right now, what you're witnessing right behind me is the mountain of corruption and also heaps of books, almost as high as 30 feet.
Hundreds of textbooks were sent for recycling. Though many students are yet to get their study material and the first term exams are just days away.
इस साल की किताबें मिली है?
नहीं.
कौन सी किताब नहीं मिली?
हिंदी.
टीचर को बोले थे किताब नहीं मिली?
यस मैम.
तो क्या बोला उन्होंने?
अभी आएगा थोड़े दिन बाद.
आपको किताब मिली है?
नहीं मिली है किताब.
आपका एग्जाम कब से है?
23 से.
और अभी तक किताब ही नहीं मिली है?
नहीं.
कौन से सब्जेक्ट की नहीं मिली?
हिंदी.
The Congress is crying scam.
मैं समझता हूँ कई किताबों को गलाकर नया पेपर भी बना दिया गया, लेकिन कोई पूछने वाला नहीं। क्या प्रिंटर को फायदा पहुंचाने का काम किया गया? क्या जो बड़े कमीशन लेकर काम करते हैं उन लोगों ने इस काम को किया? कितने बड़े लोग, कौन कौन लोग इसमें इन्वॉल्व हैं? एक तरफ इस प्रदेश के ननिहाल किताबों के लिए तरस रहे हैं, तड़प रहे हैं। एक किताब कहीं घूम गई तो दूसरी किताब ले नहीं पाते।
The Vishnu Deosai government has formed a committee under Chhattisgarh Textbook Corporation MD Rajendra Katara, IAS, to probe the matter.
छत्तीसगढ़ पाठ्य पुस्तक निगम को भ्रष्टाचार का अड्डा बनाने वाले इस विषय पर सवाल उठाते हैं तो बड़ा आश्चर्य लगता है। ये विषय राजनीति का नहीं है, ये बच्चों के शिक्षा से जुड़ा विषय है, इस पर किसी प्रकार की राजनीति नहीं होनी चाहिए। भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार अपनी जिम्मेदारी को पूरा समझती है और इसकी जिम्मेदारी को सुनिश्चित करने के लिए हम जांच करवा रहे हैं और इसकी पूरी तह तक जाएंगे।
The state government's critics claim the alleged textbook scam might not be limited to state capital Raipur, but may extend to other districts. With Sumi Keval Patel in Chhattisgarh, Bureau Report, India Today.
Okay, let's end this Friday night special on the News Today with a good news today story. An IT engineer from Jamui in Bihar has become a hero in his home state after he got a job offer from Google. Abhishek Kumar claims he's been offered a salary which, when converted, adds to about 2 crore rupees a year. Abhishek got his engineering degree from the National Institute of Technology in Patna, and he's become quite a hero in his hometown. Take a look.
An inspiring story of determination and success from Jhajha, a small town in Bihar. Meet Abhishek Kumar, a young man who has turned dreams into reality and is now set to work with tech giant Google in London. After completing his BTech from NIT Patna, Abhishek took his first steps into the tech world with Amazon in Berlin. His relentless pursuit of excellence has now paid off. Abhishek received an incredible job offer from Google with an annual package of 2.07 crore rupees.
जो भी टाइम बचता था उसमें मैं इंटरव्यूज की तैयारी करता था, तो एक प्रॉपर स्ट्रेटजी निकालना इंटरव्यूज के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट था और उस स्ट्रेटजी के साथ कंसिस्टेंसी होना बहुत ज़रूरी था। फिर मैंने जितना भी टाइम मुझे मिला उसमें मैंने कोडिंग की अच्छे से तैयारी की, अपने बिहेवियरल क्वेश्चंस की अच्छे से तैयारी की और फिर जाके मुझे सारे इंटरव्यूज़ मैं क्रैक कर पाया। हमेशा से बहुत सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियर्स का एक ड्रीम रहता है कि वो जाके गूगल में काम करें, तो मैं भी बहुत एक्साइटेड हूँ कि मैं और बड़ी इम्पैक्टफुल प्रोजेक्ट्स पे काम कर सकूँगा गूगल में।
His parents credit his hard work for his success.
शुरू से मैंने सोच था, मैं कहती थी कि आपको बाबू ऐसे करना है, तो वो मैंने सीरियसली लेता था। हाँ मम्मी मैं करूँगा, मैं निश्चित करूँगा। और हर हमेशा बोलते रहता था मम्मी मैं बड़ा होके इतना पैसा कमाऊँगा, इतना पैसा कमाऊँगी, कोई कष्ट नहीं होगा आपको। बच्चे भी मेरा कष्ट को समझा और इतना मेहनत किया कि हर चीज़ में मैंने बुलंदी को छूता रहा।
Abhishek's success story is creating waves across Bihar. Bureau Report, India Today.